Do you know how megaspores are formed, or what are the different type of spores like monosporic, bisporic, tetrasporic? This is Dr. Pankaj Kumar, your mentor, and in today's sessions we will be talking about the development of the female structure starting from the gynoecium till the very development of a female gametophyte, what we call embryo sac, right? So first of all, let's talk about the very structure of the gynoecium. You know, that is the female structure. It is actually made up of three parts, what we call style, stigma and ovary. We know very well, right? And if the number of carpel is only one, we call them monocarpally. If the number of carpel is more, we call them polycarpally. And if it is fused together, we call syncarpous. If it is a free, that is a primitive condition that is found in the family like Ranunculaceae, we call them apocarpous, right? So what happens that within the pistil or carpel, what we see, there is a development of the megaspore mother cell, and eventually the megaspore mother cell will form the female gametophyte. So in today's sessions, we will be talking in very detail that how these development happens or what are the sequence of the development, right? So first of all, let's talk about the development of the ovule. We know very well, ovule develops within the ovary, right? So the main body of the ovary is actually called as a nucellus, okay, and it is going to be enclosed by integuments, right? Now we know very well that in general ovules have two integuments, we call them bitegmic, but in some cases the number of integuments can be one also, and it is found that the two integuments is going to occur in most of the polypetalae and the monocots. But as far as the unitegmus is concerned, that is going to form in the gamopetalae group. So that is an important piece of information from competitive aspects, right? What we see that in few cases there is going to have some additional integuments. Okay, for instance, take an example of aril. Aril is the third integument, that is a funicular growth from the base of the ovule that we observe in case of lychee. So the white portion of the lychee, what we eat, this is nothing but the third integument, what we call aril. Okay. Similarly, there is a caruncle. That is again a micropylar growth, and that is going to occur in case of castor, right? And one more, there is going to have a arum, and that occurs in asphodelus. So these are the three other types of integuments or some sort of protective covering besides the other two, right? But this is very clear. So these are the species specific. Okay. Now let's talk about the development of the ovule. We know very well within the nucellus, the development is going to begin with the archisporial cell, as we have seen in case of the microsporogenesis. So here also what will happen, that archisporial cell by periclinial division, they are going to form the two cells, the outer parietal and the inner sporogenous cells, right? So what happens that the parietal tissues are going to form the protective layer, and sporogenous tissues is going to form the megaspore mother cell. So there are two types of ovules has been recognized. One what we call quasi-nucleate. So in case of quasi-nucleate, what happens? There is a well-developed parietal tissues, right? But on the other hand, there are few cases in which the parietal cells is absent. In those ovules are actually called as a tenunucleate, right? So we can see there as the development I told you, archisporial will form parietal and sporogenous, and parietal will form protective layer, what we call the outer protective wall, and the sporogenous will form primary sporogenous, then secondary sporogenous, it will form spore mother cell, and it will undergo the meiotic division to form haploid megaspore, right? Now have a look at megasporangia. Megasporangia is nothing but it is a ovule, okay? So if you see the structure of the ovule, right, now this ovule is actually attached with a structure called funicle, you can see there, and the body of the ovule fused with the funicle at the region called hilum. So it is at place where actually hilum is there, right? So what happens, it is enclosed by the two integuments, you can see there, and there is a one space in which there is the integuments is not in continuity, and this is what we call micropyle. And through micropyle, what happens? The pollen tube will enter. Okay. And just opposite to the micropyle, there is a structure what we call chalaza. So that is the things that is present in case of the megasporangia or ovule. Okay. Now let's talk about the types of the ovule. But first of all, let's learn that what are the basis in which the different types has been recognized. Okay. You see, the relative position of the micropyle, the funicle and chalaza. Depending upon them, these different types has been recognized. Now have a look at this orthotropous. In case of orthotropous, what you will see that micropyle, the funicle and the chalaza all are in one line. So if it is in one line, we call them orthotropous. And this is the most primitive one, and that is found in case of gymnosperm. And the most advanced one, or rather we can say the most common one, what we call, this is the anatropous. So in case of anatropous, what we see that micropyle is close to the funicle. When micropyle is close to the funicle, we call them, it is an anatropous. So in case of hemitropous, you can say that it is an right angle. In case of Camphilotropous, we can say that is an irregular shape. In case of Amphitropous, we can say that ovule is horseshoe shaped. So these questions are often asked, that in which of the ovule the ovule is going to be horseshoe shaped. Which of the type of ovule in which the ovule is going to be horseshoe shaped? That is Amphitropous, right? Now let's talk about the megasporogenesis. So first of all, let's have a definition. In all of these things, we need to understand what is the starting point, what is the ending point. Megasporogenesis means that we are talking about the development of the megaspore from diploid megaspore mother cell. So haploid megaspore is going to develop from diploid megaspore mother cell. So it is obviously, it is going to involve the meiotic division, right? So what happens as a result of meiotic division, the 4 megaspores are going to be formed, but out of those 4 megaspores, 3 degenerate and only 1 survive to form as a functional megaspore. Later on, this functional megaspore participate in the formation of, we can say, megagametogenesis, right? So in case of megasporogenesis, what we have learned, that the megaspore or one functional megaspore is going to develop from megaspore mother cell by a meiotic division. Okay. Now let's talk about megagametogenesis. And as usual, first of all, we will talk about the definition. And the definition is that, once again, we need to understand what is the starting point, what is the ending point. So for megagametogenesis, the starting point is megaspore, that is a haploid megaspore. And what is the ending point? The ending point is the formation of the female gametophyte. And what is the name of the female gametophyte? Embryo sac, what we call it is a female gametophyte. So the formation of embryo sac from haploid megaspore is actually called as a megagametogenesis. So we will see that what are the sequence of events that is going to take through the very process of megagametogenesis. Okay. So what we see that megaspore at the micropylar end undergoes 3 consecutive mitotic division. Okay, so it is obvious that by 3 consecutive mitotic division, what will happen? That 8 nuclei is going to be formed. Okay. Now this 8 nuclei later on organize into 2 group of 4 nuclei each, as you can see in the diagram. So this is the first. After first meiotic division, first mitosis, it formed 2 cells. After second mitosis, it will form 4. After third mitosis, it will form 8. And these 8 are distributed in a 2 group 4 each, right? Later, what happens? Out of these 4 from each end, one of the cell migrate to the center, as you can see there. Okay. When they migrate to the center, they join together and form a polar nuclei, right? Mind it. Till now, it was a nuclear division. Cell wall was not formed. But once all these things, all the migration to the respective place happens, then the cell wall formation is going to happen. As a result of cell wall formation, what we see that there is a egg apparatus at the micropylar end. At the chalazal end, there is a antipodal cells, and in the center, there is going to have polar nuclei. Okay. So this is the structure what we see, right? Now let's have a look at the embryo sac. Embryo sac is a 7-celled 8-nucleated structure. You can see in the diagram. So these are the 3 cell, and again these are the 1 cell, and again there is a 3 cell. So altogether there is a 7 cell. But as far as the nucleus is concerned, since it is a 2 nuclei. So that's why we say it is a 7-celled 8 nucleated structure. Okay. Now, egg apparatus that is present at the micropylar end, that itself consists of two type of cells. One what we call egg cell, and second what we call synergid cells. Okay. And within the synergid cell, there is a large number of filiform apparatus. Right. And what is filiform apparatus? They are basically made of endoplasmic reticulum, and that actually helps in just receiving the male gamete and eventually helping in the very process of fertilization, which we will discuss in detail in the very section of the fertilizations. Okay. So there is a large center cell that has a 2 polar nuclei, right, as you can see in the diagram also. Okay. So what we can say, that what is female gametophyte? That is, embryo sac is a female gametophyte. And what is ovule? Ovule is nothing but it is an embryo sac per integuments, and it is also known as microsporangium, right? Now let's talk about what are the different types of embryo sac, and we need to understand that what are the bases on which these different types has been recognized. There is only one basis, and the basis is that how many number of megaspore nuclei is participating in the development of the embryo sac. I repeat, on the basis of the total number of nuclei which is participating in the formation of embryo sac is actually called as that is the very basis for recognizing the different types of embryo sac. So 3 types has been recognized, what we call monosporic, bisporic and tetrasporic. Okay. So first of all, we will look at the monosporic. Now have a look at this diagram. You see, this is the megaspore mother cell. By first division, that is the nuclear division, because we know very well that in megasporogenesis there is going to have a nuclear division. So as a result of nuclear division, what we see, that 4 nuclei is formed. Out of 4 we know very well 3 degenerates. So there is a 1 functional megaspore. So this functional megaspore will undergo the first mitotic division, followed by the second mitotic division, followed by the third mitotic division. As a result, what we see, that 8 nucleated structure is formed, and after 8, all these are typical embryo sac is going to be formed. This is what we call polygonum type. That is a typical, the monosporic 8 nucleate monosporic embryo sac. What we call it is a polygonum type. Okay. So what we are seeing, that here single megaspore nuclei is participating in the formation of the embryo sac. Single, because the 3 has already been degenerate. It is the single one that is participating in the formation of the entire embryo sac. That's why we are calling them monosporic. Okay. Now there are 2 variants. The monosporic can be polygonum type, the monosporic can be Oenothera type. The difference is that in case of polygonum, what happens, it is a 8 nucleate. But in case of Oenothera, what happens, it is just 4 nucleates. So what happens? Here 5th division is not happening. At the end of the 4th division, what we see, the formation of only 4 nuclei, and this 4 nuclei eventually forms the entire embryo sac. Okay. So here what we see, that the polar nuclei is a haploid. They don't have any antipodal cells. So please take a note of it. They do not have an antipodal cells. This polar nuclei is a haploid one, and there is a typical egg apparatus, right? But it is also monosporic. Why? Because the single nuclei is participating in the development of the entire embryo sac. I hope the concept is absolutely clear at your end, right? Have a look at the bisporic. So logically we can say that if the 2 megaspore nuclei participate in the formation of the entire embryo sac, we have to say it is a bisporic, and exactly it is. Have a look at this diagram. So this is megaspore mother cell. So after division, it will form 2 nuclei. Second division, it will form another 2 nuclei, but at the same time, one is going to degenerate. So this top cell is going to be degenerating. Okay. So after second division, they have only 2 nuclei, right? And these 2 nuclei will be participating in the formation of the embryo sac. Okay. So in gametogenesis, what will happen? 2 will form 4 in the third division. In the fourth division, it will form 8. So at the end of the 4th division, the 8 nucleate is there. So the typical embryo sac is going to be formed. So the end structure remains the same. You see, in case of monosporic also, we got the same structure, that is 7-celled 8 nucleate structure. So is the case in case of bisporic. But the difference is that here what we see, that only 4 nuclei, or we can say only 4 nuclear division is there, right? And to begin with, It is the 2 megaspore nuclei that is participating in the formation of entire embryo sac. That's why we are calling them bisporic. Okay, and that is a typical alien type. This is alien type is also known as a bisporic. I hope the very concept of bisporic is absolutely clear. Now let's extend this argument to the tetrasporic. So in case of tetrasporic, what we can say? That if all the 4 megaspore nuclei participate in the formation of embryo sac, we have to say tetrasporic. Exactly it is. Just have a look. So this is a megaspore mother cell. After division 1, there is a 2 nuclei. After division 2, there is a 4 nuclei. All the 4 are haploid, right? Now there is a no degeneration. That means all the 4 nuclei is participating in the formation of embryo sac. So in the third division itself, it is going to form 8 nucleate. Okay. Then it will develop into embryo sac. So what we can say, that only 3 nuclear divisions is required to form 8 nuclei, the typical embryo sac in case of tetrasporic. So what we have learned? Very simple thing. In case of monosporic, it is a 5 nuclear division is required in megaspore mother cell to form a typical 8 nucleate embryo sac. In case of bisporic, it is a 4 nuclear division that is required for the formation of a typical embryo sac. Similarly, in case of tetrasporic, it is a 3 nuclear division that is required to form a typical 8 nucleate embryo sac, right? So this is the very basic things what we have to keep in your mind. And if you understood the concept, then these are the type of question that is asked. Okay, for instance, 8 nucleate monosporic embryo sac, typical number of nuclear division is 5. Now the 4 nucleate monosporic embryo sac, what should be the answer? It's a 4, right? Now 8 nucleate bisporic embryo sac, we know very well, that is 4, right? Now 4 nucleate bisporic, so there is a 1 division less. So definitely here the number is going to be 3, right? Now the tetrasporic can be 16 nucleate as well. Okay, so if it is a 8 nucleate, 3 division was required. So if it is a 16 nucleate, definitely we require 4 division. And if we require 8 nucleate tetrasporic embryo sac, we have already learned that the 3 nuclear division is required, right? So that's all what I have to discuss as far as the entire mega sporogenesis is concerned. I hope the concept is pretty clear at your end. Don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Thank you.